Hi everybody, this is Laura, City Scrapper. Thank you so much for joining me on my channel. Today I have a Christmas layout for you. I'm trying to catch up on some videos that I had filmed and edited but not voiced over. This layout was made using the December 2022 My Creative Scrapbook limited edition kit. This kit had a really beautiful Christmas collection from 49 and Market. I love their Christmas collections. It was called Holiday Wishes. To start off this layout, I mounted two pieces of green pattern paper in an L shape on a piece of white solid cardstock. I cut the corner of one of the strips on a 45-degree angle so that it would create kind of a frame look to it. I trimmed this cute red and white striped paper down a little bit just so you'd be able to see that green along the left and the bottom edges. I inked the edges with some barn door Distress Oxide, and then I put some ATG adhesive on the back of it and attached it down to the layout. The photo that I'm using for this layout, which was taken on Christmas Eve several years ago, measures 4 by 4 inches. I'm also using one of the frames from the kit, and I'm going to incorporate the green piece of paper that you see on the layout right now into this cluster. I use my scissors and I distress the edges of the frame, and then I fit it on top of my photo. I had to trim the photo down a little bit in the upper right hand corner, and now I'm going to mat it on top of that green pattern paper. I think that the fact that the mat is green will help to tie the background and the photo cluster together. I use my green dauber to ink the edges of the paper, so it's whatever color is left on that dauber that goes onto the edge of the paper. And then I add a little bit of extra adhesive and I attach my photo down to that green mat. I'm using a piece of thick white cardstock and I'm cutting it the same size as the photo cluster. I'm going to mount this cardstock behind the photo. This helps to make the whole photo cluster a little bit more sturdy. Adding the cardstock really helps to keep whatever I'm popping up on foam from being too flimsy. I like to use fun foam that's self-adhesive on one side. Here I'm fitting a number of pieces together to cover the whole back of the photo. My plan for this layout is to have one huge cluster and put a whole bunch of different embellishments all around my photo. I picked out a number of die cuts and also some of the dimensional flowers, and I'm inking the edges using Distress Oxide in Rustic Wilderness and Barn Door. I matched the color of Distress Oxide with the color of the embellishment. I picked out a lot of embellishments here. Most of them do end up on the final layout. There may be a couple that don't make it onto the page, but most of them do find a place. My photo is going to go in the center of the layout, and I start in the center and then I work my way outward. I have a number of layering pieces that I thought might look nice arranged around the photo. Usually when I'm incorporating a tag into a cluster, I want that to be the highest point of the cluster. If I add some twine or a bow to the tag, I want there to be some space for that added embellishment. So I think that it's always a good idea to have that at the top of the cluster. I really love these die cut pieces of lace. I find that 49 and Market has been including them a lot, often different shapes. I love the way these are not straight. I thought they would look pretty layered on top of each other, not layered up so much that you can't see the one that's underneath, but so that you could see both colors. So I'm going to be working on that in a little while. I like the way those layering pieces look around the photo. So now I'm starting to add some flowers into that cluster. I have the die cut flowers on the top and on the left. I also have some of those beautiful Prima flowers on the right hand side of the photo. And then I added a sentiment that says, "It's a wonderful life." I'm going to move that around a little bit, but for right now, I have that to the left of the photo, and that's going to serve as a title for this layout. I thought that the red and white striped bow would be perfect on this layout. I was thinking initially I would put it underneath the photo. I also wanted to have some other really small clusters in addition to the big central cluster. So I have some poinsettias and some holly leaves in the upper right hand corner. And now I'm tucking a number of the fussy cut and die cut poinsettias from the kit into the layers of that large cluster. I really like that deer that's off to the right. I don't end up using it on this layout, but I do include it on another layout that I made for this month because I really liked that particular embellishment. Then I changed my mind about the cluster in the upper right-hand corner, and I tucked all of those embellishments that I was going to use for that into some other areas. There were some die-cut leaves. I thought they looked pretty at the bottom of the cluster. Those dimensional Prima poinsettias are so pretty. You'll notice that they do jump around the layout a little bit. Right now they are on the left-hand side of the photo. In a few moments, here they are on the right-hand side. I did spend quite a bit of time arranging and rearranging these embellishments for this layout. I wanted to give you the idea of it, but I also didn't want to include all of the footage because it did take me a little bit of time to get everything where it ends up. To the left of the photo, I added a truck that has a Christmas tree in the back. I thought that that was a good size and it fit right in that spot. Then I started working on the cluster in the upper left-hand corner. That is going to be my title cluster. I popped up the sentiment, "It's a Wonderful Life," on some foam, and then I surrounded it with some of the die-cut flowers from the pack. And now in the lower right-hand corner, I'm also making a very small cluster that includes the same kind of flower that's in the upper left-hand corner. And I also included a red and white label to build up that cluster a little bit. I used 2 Martha Stewart poinsettia punches. One has 4 leaves on a branch and the other one has just 2. And the same green paper that I used in the strips on the background. And I punched out a number of branches, and you could see that I have added them to the layout off camera. I have some on either side of the large cluster, some in the bottom right-hand side in that small cluster, and now I'm adding some leaves to either side of a button right underneath the photo. I'm going to add more of those holly leaves in a little while. I noticed that even though I tried to make an effort not to, I found that the red and the green lace laser cuts were overlapping each other a little bit too much, and I wanted you to be able to see each individual die cut. I ended up tucking the red piece underneath the green one, and now I think that you can see each piece a little more clearly. Once I had the lace die cuts where I wanted them, I layered the branches that I had there before back over the top. I had another die cut that was greenery, and I thought I would try to tuck that into another spot. I continued adding the holly leaves to a few different places in that big cluster. Here I'm cutting the leaves into individual pieces and tucking them in a couple of places around those poinsettias. I was thinking that the leaves would look nice if they were bent in the middle. I thought that would give them a little bit more dimension and then also add some interest to them as well. So I decided to go around the layout and bend each of those holly leaves around my scissors. I really like the way that that looked. I do think that it gave a nice touch to the holly leaves. I don't include all of the footage of me attaching everything down to the background because you could see there are a lot of individual pieces, but here and there I added some adhesive when I felt that I was confident that I liked where the embellishment was, and I went ahead and attached the embellishments down. And then I tucked a few more of those holly leaves in a couple of different places. I thought it would look nice if the 2 layers of pattern paper had a border in between them. So I use this very delicate EK Success border punch. It's a very, very tiny zigzag with some really, really small hearts on it. I punched out 2 strips and I tucked them between those 2 layers of paper. In the corner where they met, they didn't line up perfectly with the diagonal that was cut in the green paper, but overall, I was happy with the way that it turned out, so I left those borders in there. I believe that I'm attaching the last die cut down to the page. I think everything else is secured. The poinsettias still need some adhesive, but I think everything else is attached down. And now I'm adding some gold pearls to the layout. These are Pink Fresh Studio half pearls. They don't have any adhesive on them, so you have to glue them in place, and I like to use Glossy Accents. It dries really quickly, and I think it holds up in the long run. In the past, I used to use gel glue to hold these types of embellishments to the page. And while I love gel glue to attach paper to paper, I found that sometimes things like pearls and rhinestones would later pop off of the page. So I think Glossy Accents is the best adhesive that I know of to attach things like this down. But if you know of another adhesive, I would love to hear of it. There were 4 different size pearls. I put the smallest ones on the Christmas tree on the back of the truck, and the other 3 sizes I spread around the 3 clusters, mainly on the center cluster, but I have a couple on the other clusters as well. I put the pearls in the centers of the flowers. I thought that they looked pretty there, but I also added a couple of others just sprinkled throughout the main cluster, and it looks like I did use a couple of the smallest of those pearls on other areas of the cluster. I trimmed those border strips down a little bit, and then I just could not get enough of those holly leaves, so I tucked a couple more of those into that big cluster, and now I'm using some gel glue and I'm attaching those down to the layout. Earlier, I had inked a postage stamp die cut piece, but I didn't include it on the layout, and then as I was adding all of these leaves, I was thinking that there's a little spot to the left of the photo that could use that stamp, so I put some adhesive on it and tucked it in, and then I finished up the layout by gluing down the holly leaves that I just added. The layout is complete, and here are some close-ups. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you're going to also enjoy some of the other videos that I'm planning on finishing up. I try each month to get all of my Creative Scrapbook videos edited and voiced over and up on my channel, but I don't always succeed. So now I have a number of videos to catch up on, and I hope to get them up on my channel this month. If you take a look in the description box, you'll find the link to the My Creative Scrapbook website where you could check out all of the current kits and purchase a subscription if you would like. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.